Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Today we're here to meet with Cecil and for him to talk to us about his journey in digitally transforming facilities management. Few quick housekeeping things. So one, please, there will be a live question and answer session at the end of today's content. So I would encourage you all to please enter any of your questions into the chat as you go, as you think of them. Ira Lacroix is also on the line. He's our VP of Sales, and he will be moderating the Q&A at the end. So if you have anything specific, you can ask him, or you can, and he will help address that. Also, today's session is being recorded, so if you are uncomfortable with that, please feel free to drop and let Ira know, and we can send you the recording at the end of today's session. And with that, we'll go ahead and kick it off and jump right in. So again, my name is Rebecca Wormley, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Zendelity. We are a Ottawa-based organization. We have we've actually been in business for quite a while, working with cruise lines. When COVID hit, as I'm sure everybody can imagine, we pivoted, and we really focused our time and attention on learning and understanding facilities management and how we could digitally transform that operation. And that's what we're here to discuss with us today. Super excited to have Cecil here, Cecil as our guest speaker. Cecil, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, no problem. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cecil Speights. So I'm in a facility management business. Currently I work for the Norristown Area School District, and I've been here for about 11 years. Previously, I was with the Philadelphia School District, and I was there for about 21 years. So that's over 30 years of experience doing this. And we're still trying to always improve what we do. But during my time in facility management, I've dealt with, as we mentioned, facility management, also dealing with custodial services, vendor management, dealing with contracts, onboarding, so hiring new staff, and unfortunately sometimes removing staff, and also just making sure that our buildings are clean, safe, and well maintained. That's what I do. And I think that's what a lot of us do if we're in the facilities business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at this stage, you've definitely been there, seen that, done that. So I really, thank you so much for taking your time. As we were talking about earlier, Cecil and I have been chatting kind of weekly for quite a while now, both, as an opportunity for me to learn about his business and his challenges and what he struggles with. And then, of course, looking at how we can help digitally transform. And so that's really what we're here to discuss today. So again, I really appreciate you taking your time to help us. I know your time is very, very valuable. So thank you.
No problem. No problem.
So what are we here? What are we trying to do? So our goal today is to talk about the value of digitally transforming operations. We believe that in doing so, you can make life a little simpler from a facilities management perspective. You can have the confidence, go home at night knowing that you are in compliance with all the various health and safety regulations and requirements. We're going to talk about the value of digitally transforming and having data, being able to have data-driven discussions, to eliminating the hearsay and I think so's and I believe so's out of facilities, and having discussions and making decisions based on accurate, timely data. Talk about simplifying management, again, how we can make it easier day in, day out to do your job. And at the same time, we're going to talk to you and demonstrate how we can help you save time and resources that we know are in high demand in today's facilities. So the way we set this up is it's really intended to be, if you will, a fireside chat. So just Cecil and I banting some questions back and forth and talking about his experiences and his perspectives. And again, at the end, any questions, I would encourage you all to add your own questions, and whether they be for Cecil or myself, whatever works. But let's get interactive and let's listen and learn and experience digital transformation. So with that, what I want to do today to kick off today's session is really dig into what digitally transforming operations means to yourself, means to Norristown Area School District. Forget about what it is, but really what value are you seeing in your day to day as far as operations? And let's start in on, I think, the school safety side. I think that's what's most important to definitely from your side, but I think for many of us here on the call today. So can you talk about the changes that you're seeing from a school safety perspective that you want to share?
So some of the changes that we've had, well, we know that when it comes to school safety, period, we that's our job. If you're in a facility management business, our job is to make sure that we maintain our facilities, that they're safe, that whoever uses them, whether in my case, school students, teachers, our administrators, or even the guests that we have at our buildings, we want to make sure that when they're using our facilities, that they're confident that nothing will go wrong, that they'll feel comfortable in our buildings, that our buildings are safe. We're taking care of people's children, right? That's a precious commodity in itself. And so people want to know that when they come to our schools, that parents, they want to know that their kids are safe. Teachers want to work there in a safe environment. This way they can all do their jobs better when we make sure that our facilities are safe.
And so how do you think, so how is, since we've embarked on this digital transformation, how are you making your properties even safer, do you think?
Well, I think it's helping us to be more organized. So my building support staff, my building level staff, they're more focused. They're able to maybe see some things that they normally don't see, or address some problems that they normally don't address. We're able to focus our resources to all the problem areas, right? Sometimes, and being that we're organized in this way, it helps us to prevent a lot of problems that we would have if we didn't have this adjustment with putting things in a digital format.
Yeah, fair enough. So which leads nicely into, you and I have discussed this a lot, this concept of perpetual blindness. I love it. I think of the Febreze commercial and being nose blind, but this is the facilities version of that. So maybe you can share with everybody, when you talk about perpetual blindness, what is that, and how are you eliminating it within Norristown?
Well, I think we all experience that, right? We all experience perpetual blindness each day. I mean, just imagine, like, when we're driving in to work, and sometimes you're driving in and once you get to work, you're like, well, how did I get here? Well, you didn't notice some of the things that you normally notice. You just was on your way. And sometimes when it comes to our building level staff, there are things that they're in their surroundings so much, right? They get used to seeing things for what they think it should be instead of how it really is. For instance, we had a situation before where you have a fire extinguisher, something as simple as a fire extinguisher. We know where it's supposed to be, but we may have a teacher who wants to display something in that area where the fire extinguisher is hanging. They move the fire extinguisher, put it under their desk, or put it in a closet somewhere, and now they put up the display. So now when we do have a fire, we have a small fire incident in the area, everyone's looking for the fire extinguisher, but it's not there. Why? Well, my building support staff may have looked for it, thinking it was there. It wasn't there. They probably walked past it many times or been in that classroom many times, and where it used to be is not there, but they just didn't notice it. It's not because they're bad workers. It's not because they're bad people or bad employees, but because of that perpetual blindness, we know it should be there. We're used to seeing it there. But now with us changing things in a digital way, I can ensure that my staff can know that that fire extinguisher is where it's going to be, because they're checking it every day. They're checking for different fire extinguishers. Now it puts it on their radar. It makes them more aware, more alert, and that creates a safer environment for everyone that's using our facilities.
Fantastic. So So I think that the next area that I want to talk about is around training and onboarding. I know since obviously since COVID, but it's probably not a new challenge for you, but definitely in your space, in your area, staffing has become a challenge, training and onboarding. So how do you see digital transformation or you're digitally transforming your operation strategy? How do you see that playing value from a training and an onboarding perspective?
Well, like you mentioned, everyone is having struggles with having staff, right? I think, it's trouble for everywhere. It's worldwide. But especially in my area, in our facilities department, we've been having that struggle. So we get new employees that do want to come and work for us, and now we're struggling to find time to train them. That's one of the hardest things. Our biggest commodity that everyone has in common is time. We only have 24 hours of it, right? And I don't have time during the day sometimes to train staff like I really need to. So now with using Command Center, I'm able to create work plans that guide my staff step by step without them having to call me all the time or call one of my foremen to ask, how should I go about this? How should I do this? Or now they have something right in the palm of their hands that they can go to and go over those steps. And so that they can build confidence in themselves and the work that they're doing. And they don't feel like they're a bother to me, to my foreman or anyone. I mean, they can always call, but it's always better for a person to learn themselves those steps of what they need to do, especially in a new job. This creates confidence in them, confidence in their ability to do the job, and they won't feel like a bother to us. So I think the training aspect is so important. It's so important for everyone that deals with people today.
Absolutely. And I think, when I hear you talk about that, I mean, it's the savings obviously from your side of things, but then, helping them ramp quicker and get them, because it's clear and concise information. So now let's talk a little bit about, preventative maintenance. Obviously, a major portion of yours and anyone's in facilities kind of role and responsibilities. So how do you see Command Center kind of really making a difference in your preventative maintenance strategy and helping to drive change there?
Well, all of us have some type of PM program within our facilities, right? But sometimes we don't know if we have like a regular hard copy paper log. Do we really know if the service was provided that our vendor said that they provided, or if maybe one of our HVAC team, somebody on the HVAC team, did they really change that filter out? How do we know for sure? So with using Command Center now, I can know that my staff really went to that place, physically went to that place, physically opened up their unit ventilator, or went into that HVAC unit to service it, knowing that, hey, they checked the coolant level for the generator. I know they did because they tagged in, they put the pertinent information in on that day that they did it. You can't backlog it. So I know I'm getting accurate and clear information. And so now I can trust that our PM program is working effectively. And I can keep up with our warranties for all of our equipment. It's just nice. It's really nice. And I can do it with large scale equipment like boilers or chillers, but I can also do it when it comes to something smaller as a snow blower or an auto scrubber or any of the other equipment that we have within our facility.
Yeah, fantastic. And, you've touched a little bit on time and resources already, talking about saving time from a training perspective. And one of the ones I think you talked a little bit about, you don't have to go and do inspections of inspections, that kind of thing. So where else are you seeing kind of time and resource savings that you think are really making a difference to your bottom line?
For me, it's just not, I don't have to run around trying to collect logs and collect other information. Now everything can be right there at the tips of my fingers, right? I can just log onto my PC. I can see what data I need. I can structure it in the way I want to structure it. I can relay that information so that any of the insurance companies or the fire marshal or whoever that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, even our CFO, or if my director needs to get information. Now I could share it with them directly, quickly, be at the tip of my finger. So that saves a lot of time, because you don't know how much time it takes for me at times to look up information. If my director asks me for a report, hey, Cecil, we need this report for this. Well, now I have to try to get all the report from all the different locations. Some of my guys may be good with a digital format, so they may scan it and email it over to me. Others will take a picture and text it to me. So and then I have a paper copy that comes to me, maybe lands on my desk. So instead of me trying to fight and getting all this information, gather this information in this way, and wasting my time, which is already in short supply as it is, right? Now I'm able to conveniently have all this information right at my fingertips. That saves a lot of time. That's
Abs-
very valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's fantastic. I mean, I think you've touched on some major areas for most operating teams. But what I'd like to do now is kind of take a little bit of a step back as a level set, and really talk about some of the traditional challenges that you face in operations that are making it difficult for you to accomplish your objectives and to be successful. So starting in around, school safety, in the past, what are some of the common challenges that you were faced with that were really impeding your day and making it difficult for you to meet objectives around school safety?
Well, I hate to beat a dead horse, but part of it is just making sure we have all the proper information, right? See, we have to, and it's like all other facility managers or directors or anyone else that's listening in, we all have to adhere to a certain amount of standards, certain standards. They're either set by our insurance company, there's maybe set by for a school district, our board of directors, maybe the fire marshals. It could be even just warranties that we have to adhere to when we buy new equipment, right? And just for instance, in our school district, in Norristown Area School District, we are comprised of 3 different townships, right? So you have East Norriton, West Norriton, and Norristown. Okay. So now we have 3 different fire marshals to deal with, to appease, and when they do inspections. Some are looking for certain things, some are looking for others. So how am I able to properly meet each of their standards? Well, it's kind of that's the trouble. That it's like how do I do it in these 4 schools as opposed to these 6 schools, and as opposed to the other buildings that we have. So that's one of the problems that we have when it comes to trying to like juggle and figure out how to meet our safety standards with all of the governing entities that want to do checks and balances with what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I can imagine. And which kind of leads nicely. So you've got the regulators up here, 3 different regulators all having different requirements. And then you've got your staff that, are interchanging and moving around and stuff. So what are some of the big staffing challenges that, that were there and hitting you on a daily basis that you'll be able to address moving forward?
I mean, we talked about this before. Nobody else has been privy to our conversations, but we talked about this before. I always say that time and communication are our 2 biggest problems. I don't care what industry you're in, time and communication are our 2 biggest problems. So when it comes to staff, the communication piece is key, because many times we might have communication issues. Maybe I didn't make myself clear in the instructions that I gave my maintenance guys, or I gave the custodial support staff. Sometimes they don't understand my expectations, and they can't really comprehend the instructions I'm giving them. So now that creates difficulty. Then even within the staff themselves, they're not seeing eye to eye in what the standards are and what the expectations are. This all causes confusion, which causes misunderstanding. It causes strife, and it creates chaos and turmoil where I might lose some staff, or staff want to transfer, or they just want to quit and they want to go somewhere else, or they just underperform because they feel as though they're not going to satisfy what my requirements or my expectations are anyway. So that's one of the big challenges that we've had.
Yeah, I can imagine. And it's one thing. It's been an interesting journey as we've embarked on this, and clearly outlining what needs to be done is difficult. Like, even it's one thing to say inspect the boiler, as you and I have discussed, but it's another thing to have that listen for sounds, listen for or look for leaks, check the temperature, it needs to be this, right? So having, it's, you can easily see how it can be how people can get confused or make mistakes or make errors. So
Yeah.
so now again, obviously the huge part of your job again is, the maintenance and the vendor management. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen in that area, or that you struggle with, that again, as part of this, we'll be able to hone in and solve?
Well, it's two kind of issues when it comes to the maintenance and like schedule maintenance things. So first you have the issue with outside vendors, because sometimes we have outside vendors that take care of maybe cleaning our chillers or cleaning our boilers or doing some PM work with some of our larger equipment. So one of the problems we have is ensuring that they actually did the work, right? It's hard to, we have a person come in. I can't have one of my maintenance guys with them to look at everything they're doing. I don't have the time to do it. My the head custodian of the building sometimes doesn't have time to do it. We don't have time to look over their shoulders. I have to trust that they said they did what they were supposed to do. And unfortunately, sometimes not due to any malice, but people forget or they don't clearly complete what we're paying them to do. They don't really clearly do it. So that's a problem in itself. Then we have then when it comes to my building staff, because I have multiple sites, maybe six of my staff and six of those buildings, that they will do whatever they need to do as far as the PM, my PM schedule. They'll do it according to my PM schedule. Then I have other staff that may not. I may want the generators, the emergency generators, checked on Tuesday to make sure that they're running on schedule. But I have somebody that just for whatever reason is not good with following the PM schedule we have in place. But now this way I can go back and look and say, hey, and talk to them and correct whatever I need to with them and say, hey, I really need you to check this on Tuesdays. We have it set up and I need this report back as soon as possible. Instead of me chasing them down, now I get the information. I know exactly if I need to know exactly if they have it done or if they had it completed or they didn't complete it. And that's the problem I was having. I don't know. Did they do it? Did they not do it? I don't know. So it wasn't united. It wasn't cohesive, where you have different people doing different things. I mean, different people doing tasks at different times of the week or not at all.
Right. When I sit back and I listen to this, so, it's facilities, we're talking about a very physical thing. But when you kind of step back and dissect those problems, it comes down to data, to lack of data, to lack of quality data. Whether it's the data on what happened or whether it's the data on what needs to be happened, we appear to have a very distinct gap in the use and that access of that data, which I think fundamentally, by digitally transforming operations, that's the goal. Let's get access to the data. So let's dissect that a little bit more as we're going and talk about the data. And what I want to do for everybody is, I'm sure everybody listening today is got their own version of this, but let's start with a little day in the life of Norristown operating data. Like, where's your data? Where's it located? How do you collect it? Just to level set for everybody.
Yeah, so it's everywhere. Our data is everywhere. It's all over the place. So we have some of the data we have is cloud-based. Some, as we mentioned before, are hard copies. Some things are just on my PC. There's nowhere else. It's just on my PC. So God forbid something happen to my computer. That's it. And then you have some things that are hard copies. The problem with that is, if I'm drinking coffee and I'm a little clumsy and I might spill my coffee on the paper, is now I lost my logs or I lost those reports that I have to turn in. So that's one of the problems. And then people can backdate logs and things of that nature. So am I really truly getting the accurate information I need from my head custodians or I need from my maintenance team? I can't say that I always will receive that accurate information because, you know, I've done it before in the past when I worked in the building, and I would backlog something because I forgot. It wasn't nothing malicious, but you just forget. And so that's one of the problems I have with hard copies and paper. Some people really like paper, but that's one of the issues with it.
Yeah, the quality. I mean, and if you think about, so when we talk about data quality, you know, so you've got the issue of backlogging, but then you've also got the issue of transcribing and making errors. So you're transcribing it into a digital format, and is that a 6 or a 5, or, you know, and the like.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So and I like to use the term currency of data, or, you know, historical data. You know, when you think of the time it takes, so if we take the example, say, of the boiler, and,
Mhm.
you know, the boiler's got a leak, how long, you know, with the current strategy of paper-based checklists and everything, what kind of delays are you generally seeing between data creation, i.e. the boiler's broken, and actually, you know, getting that data into the right hands so that you can execute and move forward and fix the issue?
Yeah, it really depends on the people involved. It starts with whoever's giving me that report, right? It starts with the person, that head custodian or the custodial support person in that building, supplying that information to me, or whoever. How are they going to supply that information to me? So that takes time. And then once I get the information, do I have to transcribe it? Do I have to convert it into something readily available for everyone else? That's the issue. So that takes time. Um, and then if it's delayed, if the information is delayed, it can cause more problems to whatever problem they're trying to report. For instance, it could be a engine to like the school bus on the school, and we're reporting or maybe a univentilator motor in one of the classrooms, or it could be any number of things. But the faster I get that information, the quicker we can remedy the problem. The problem is sometimes we get that information too late, and it just takes away from all of our other responsibilities we have. We kind of waste time, and like I said, I'll keep saying it. Time is my most important resource. Like, if you can find a way to give me more than 24 hours in a day, please let me know. I don't think none of us have it. We all have 24 hours in a day. So we have to maximize our time. And so anything that can add to maximizing the time that I have during my workday is greatly appreciated by myself and also my wife.
Fair enough. You know, it was when we were talking earlier, and you were talking about, you know, how you get some of this data, and you had said, you know, some people will take a photo and other people are scanning the paper, and then other people are dropping it off in the office. Like, it you can see the opportunities or the time for errors and omissions, and, you know, and again, not necessarily not the fault of anyone in person in particular, but just, you know, overall in general, right, with that, relying
Exactly.
on those procedures. So which I think brings us nicely into the next topic before we kind of jump into what is command center then, and really help everybody understand that. But, you know, you've got 25 plus years experience in facilities. So, you know, high level, if you could access accurate, timely, current operating data on a regular day-to-day basis, let's discuss kind of high level how that could really make a difference for you, for the school districts, and the like. So let's just quickly touch on, you know, safety standards, and then we'll move down.
Yeah. So when it comes to safety, right? If we're starting off with that, safety is what matters most. That's what's most important now. So um, using this platform, using Command Center, helps us to kind of foresee some issues, foresee some problems, keep everything united, make sure that we're safely maintaining our buildings, safely maintaining our equipment, safely maintaining our environment so that even our workers can have confidence in that, hey, they really do care about us. and we have, and let's be honest, we're dealing with taxpayers' money, right? So we have to make sure that we're spending the money in the right way, directing it to the right places that we need to, so that our schools can, well, for me, my schools, for anyone else, it could be their hotel, their hospital, what have you. No matter what, we want to make sure that whoever enters our facilities has confidence in us that this building is safe. If something goes wrong, I know that the staff here is on top of it, and that's what I want people to know when they enter our buildings, that they have confidence in everything that we're doing, because we are trying to be proactive and try to ensure that all of the safety checks we have in place won't fail.
Fair enough, absolutely. And I'm sure the parents and the students and stakeholders, as you said, really appreciate that. So how do you think, talk to me a little bit about budgeting. How do you think this will help you from a budgeting perspective? And
Well, I mean, I think I said it before. I hate to keep repeating myself, but I think I said it before, but we're dealing with taxpayers' money, right? So people work hard, and no one likes to pay taxes. It's not the fun part of us receiving our checks, but when we do pay taxes, we want to make sure that our money is being directed and used the right way, right? And so if we are using our resources properly, if we have a preventive maintenance plan in place that really extends the life of our equipment, right? And if our workers, they can safely do their jobs without making a lot of mistakes, causing like critical errors to some of the equipment, all of that saves money. And then we also mentioned that time is money. Time is money. So if my staff are able to do their jobs effectively and confidently, then they can do it in a relatively good amount of time, right? That's going to ultimately save money as well. So it just helps us to maximize the dollars that we're spending out. Us, when we do our jobs right, it makes everything else run smoothly within our facilities.
Absolutely. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about quality of service, recognizing, obviously for you guys are going to measure your quality of service by, clean, safe schools. People listening today, maybe from hospital, but how do you think, this is going to allow you to deliver upon the quality of service that, you've committed to?
Well, I think about it in a couple of ways. I think about the service agreements we have with some of the vendors, right? We want to make sure that they're performing up to snuff so that we're getting the proper amount of work, or whatever we're paying for, that's what we're getting from our service vendors. And when it comes to our building staff, we want to ensure that they are doing their work confidently. Like when you know what you're doing and you're sure of it and they're certain of it, because we put those work plans in place through Command Center, and now they're confident, hey, I'm doing this right. This is what Cecil expects of me. This is what our director expects of us. They know they're doing it right. It just engenders a better feel for them. And so now the service they give to the teachers, to the students, to any of our groups that use our buildings or rent out our facilities, then that all passes on. It's just like when you go to a restaurant, if you treat the waiter bad, right, you might get bad service. But when you treat that waiter right, you treat them properly, they're going to bend over backwards to help you out, to make your experience good. And so when our wait staff, so to speak, our building staff, when I, as a supervisor, make sure I take care of them, they're going to take care of the customer. And that's the same way with the waiter. Like if I'm the owner of that restaurant, and if I take care of my wait staff and I make sure that they're good, and I'm encouraging them and helping them, they're going to pass on those good vibes to the customers. And so that's what this helps us to do. It helps us to make sure that we're nurturing, we're taking care of our staff so that they can provide good service to whoever enters our buildings.
Fantastic, fantastic. So the one last area I just want to touch on quickly is around your key stakeholders, and you've talked to them a little bit. I've always, you know, especially from the education perspective. So for anybody who's not in that space, I mean, you've got the teachers union, you've got your students and your parents, you've got administration, you've got your own union, you've got, you know, your taxpayers and everything. So, you know, facilities is really at the center of all of that, and the running and the orchestrating and keeping the business, you know, live and flowing and everything else. So just if you could just touch on how this is going to help facilitate that relationship with your key stakeholders and that experience.
Yeah. So that goes hand in hand with the reason why we care so much about our facilities. And I think everyone, like you said, facilities is the hub of any network. Now, I'll challenge anybody on that one. That's how important we are. Some others don't see it that way, but if we don't do our job properly, then a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable and unhappy.
Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't matter how good your marketing is.
No, you could, yeah, lipstick on the pig, right?
Yeah.
That's what we think. So we care because we care about our facilities. We do all of those things because we care about the people who use our facilities. We want it to be safe. Why? Because people are using our facilities. We want it to be cleaned properly. Why? Because people are using our facilities. And we want it to be maintained properly because people are using our facilities. We care about people. We in the people business more than anybody else is within our respective jobs. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, facilities, that's what we do. So when we have accurate information, when we are taking care of our equipment properly, when our staff is trained, and we have these work plans that ensure that our PM planning is getting done in a proper way, or that our staff are trained in taking care of even the smaller equipment. It could be a backpack vacuum, but they're maintaining that properly. They're checking our fire extinguisher. They're doing all these safety checks, all these little things. They mean so much. They mean so much. And when we do them right, it saves money because now we don't have a huge collapse, and now we have to pay a lot of money to correct a mistake that was made because something could have been caught way ahead of time.
Right.
And now we wait till a problem gets so big it's too hard to handle.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about then command center. So we've talked about the difference that it's going to make in the organization, or how it is making a difference for you and your team. So let's talk about what it actually is. So let's start there. So maybe in your own words, can you describe what command center is for everybody? And then after that, we can talk about, you know, how you're actually using it today and maybe into the future.
Yeah, so command center, what is it to me? So command center, I describe it so many different ways. You know, we always say this. I always say it's the Swiss Army knife. It's my Swiss Army knife. So it's a mobile application that we use for our building staff, our maintenance staff. And I love it because you can customize work plans for your facility. So if you have a huge facility, you can customize work plans that support your work order system. And it's, you know, and you can collect data. And the work plans are invaluable because I think, Rebecca, when we first started doing it, we were just doing work plans. I wanted to make sure I had a way to make sure that we were checking our fire extinguishers every day. We were checking our emergency generators, and our roofs, our water softeners. I wanted to make sure we were checking these things, these small things. I wanted my building support staff to check them. And then we started thinking about a way to, hey, can I use this for my cleaning staff? I'm having a lot of turnover and I want to be able to use it that way. And you was like, yep. So we can use it for that too. And it's just, it does everything for us. It's it can do whatever we need it to do. That's what Command Center is to me. It's like a digital assistant. Apple has Siri, Google has, their thing, and it's our facilities digital assistant that helps me get the job done.
That's wonderful. So let's dissect one of those. And one of the work plans that you're starting with, and I think fire extinguishers for everybody is so you've got your 13 schools, and we have created a fire extinguisher work plan per school that notes every single fire extinguisher, its location. And then you've created the work plan for those to be inspected. So what are you inspecting them for each time?
Yeah, we're making. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're checking the gauge to make sure the gauge is properly set, that we have a full charge on the extinguisher. We're making sure that it's where it needs to be and where it's supposed to be. We're making sure that the pin is in place, and that that the hose is on.
Yeah.
Just anything I want to check to make sure whatever my standards are for that, that's what we can have in it. So it can be as many as 4 or 5 things, or it could be as simple as yes is there, and yes is in the green.
Right.
But I love it because it's just that confidence I have that, okay, I know everything is good in that building. I don't have anything to worry about.
So tell everybody a little bit what it's like for your staff then. So when they go and complete one of these work plans, what is that experience for them? Is it, would you say it's harder for them to do their job? Is it easier? Like, maybe you could explain kind of doing for them going and doing the fire extinguishers, or one of your use cases that you want to cover.
Yeah, you simply open up the app, and I'll talk about when we talked about fire extinguishers, but we can even go into like the boilers, or if we go into the boiler. So we know that most of us have boiler systems, and you have a computer-based system where you can check and you can regulate the temperature and make sure your boilers are on. I think we all have that, right? But you always have those issues where the Wi-Fi in the complex in your facility is not working right. And so I'm kind of old school this way. I like to have somebody with their eyes on the problem, because my HVAC mechanic can go on and say, hey, that boiler is on. And then my head custodian can go in that boiler room and say, this boiler's not on, this building is cold. And because the sensor is giving it a false reading, or something is not right with the programming. And so for the boiler, they simply would go down to the boiler room, go down to one of the boilers, take their phone, scan the tag, and they can just let me know, hey, the temperature, the hot water temperature supply for this hot water for this boiler is such and such. There's no leaks. There are no leaks, no funny smells, and everything is up to par with this boiler, or boiler number 1, boiler number 2. Or you can adapt it however you want to adapt it. That's what I like about it. Even for emergency generators, I love that, because with the work plan we set up, is that we can ensure that we get our 30-minute runtime on the test day. So that's what we do. Most of you probably do it. You have a weekly runtime for your emergency generators, and ours are on Tuesday. And so when they check it on Wednesday, they can see that, hey, that is a 30-minute different than it was the last week. So they know it was running, and they can check the coolant level or whatever else they need to check. They can check to ensure that that emergency generator did run. And if it doesn't, when they indicate that something is wrong, I get a notification right away. And then they could immediately, I'll write a work order, and then we can have them come out. Or if you want to forego the work order altogether, you can have it just send a notice to the HVAC mechanic that, hey, you need to check that out at this particular building, because the emergency generator isn't running. But it makes sure we're all communicating, and it's on a lower level, so that's a couple of things it could do.
So I think one of the ones that I like to point out too, especially with the boilers, you've talked about having high turnover and the like. And so within the system, we can set that the input temperature for the water needs to be, whatever is applicable for that particular boiler, for the make and the model, whatever the requirements are. And then we've set up the system so that you can create your own business rules. So if it's, for example, more of a 10% difference, or if it's not exactly this number, or whatever your particular business rules are or thresholds, and then you can define who exactly gets notified so that you can be dealing with it immediately versus waiting until Johnny comes back up from the boiler room and, writes a note or sends an email or a text or whatever form of takes a picture of the boiler report and texts it to you and hopes that you go through it. So really trying to improve that time to value. So that's fantastic. I think, within the system itself, you have that real-time dashboard. Maybe you can talk about the value of being able to see from your office kind of across your whole district at any given time with that.
Yeah. It's that's the ease of it. That's what makes it better. That's what makes it really nice, that you can get a quick snapshot and make sure everything is working. Everything is open. I know we use a certain alarm company. I'm not going to mention it, but we use a certain alarm company, and I could log on to the account and I could see that all my buildings are open. I can see that all the alarms are off. Well, that's kind of the same way it is with Command Center. I can go on there and I can see, okay, that emergency generator is checked. Okay, that water. Okay, he had to put water softener and refill that water softener. And you just feel at ease, because now you can just look at a glance and see what's going on in all these different facilities, and that takes your mind. It just ease of mind.
Nice,
Where
nice.
now I don't have to worry about things. And I know some of my workers have shortcomings. Some of them are not as efficient, or they need more experience. So now I could take my time and focus on them to help them. And I don't have to go to the other ones, because now I know all these things are taken care of. Let me see how I can help Mr. Brown over here at this school, or at this facility. So it really saves with time and my focus.
Fantastic. So we've only got a little nine minutes left. So I think you've probably talked on you've talked about definitely digital assistant. I'd love you to touch quickly on, and you've talked a lot about the flexibility, but just quickly, if you could just talk about the fact that you say this and it's not a work order system. So you can just clarify for everybody what you mean for that, and then we can just move forward and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a work order. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's a work order system." No, it's not a work order system. It's not a work order system. Normally, our work order systems that we have, they're really bloated with a lot of software, right? It's not really customizable to what we need. In work order systems, we use work orders when problems happen. Let me put a work order in because this is broken. Let me put a work order in because this needs to get repaired. But Command Center is designed to prevent the work order. It's to ensure that we're doing our PM. And I know a lot of work order systems do have a PM component to it, but I look at Command Center. Command Center can be a support to whatever work order system you have in place now, because it will fill in all the missing gaps that you have. It's a training tool. It's a digital assistant. It keeps the historical reports that you need. It does all these other things that you need it to do in order for us to do our jobs properly. And honestly, to make my job easier. It makes my job easier, and it saves me time. So that's why I really like using it.
Nice. And I think that also just to quickly add to that, when you think about work order systems, they're generally for an asset, and, as you said in the past, larger assets. So, we have the flexibility with Command Center to not only support those smaller assets, like you said, like fire extinguishers or a vacuum, but then we can also support it based on locations, because, it's not always about your quality of service is not necessarily only about an asset, but also, of course, the location within your facility. So having that flexibility, I think it has been great. So before we kind of close and open it out, if you could just quickly, what's your recommendations when people get off the call today? what do you think they need to think about or do or ask themselves, if you will?
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a commercial, but but if you want to stop wasting time tracking down reports and logs, and you try to get your facilities logs organized, then you should get Command Center. Command Center is what you need. If you want to make sure that your staff is trained well, and they have reminders at their fingertips when you're not around, and they have a question about something, and it could be just in those step-by-step format that you have for them to do their job, then you can get Command Center. If you want to make sure that you're getting what you pay for from your vendors, then Command Center is pretty good. You can extend the life of your equipment, you can eliminate the unexpected, and most importantly, you can save money and save time. So I think Command Center helps with all those things. If you have an issue with any of those kind of things, then I'm sure some kind of way Command Center can help. And what I like about you guys, and I will say this, is that you work with us. You work with the way we do things here in Norristown. So if somebody else is in another school district or another facility, a hospital, whatever, I like that you cater to what we need. And your whole approach has been so far. Hope you better not change. But it's been what do you need? How can we help you? And you cater Command Center to our needs without having all of this unnecessary bloated, a lot of work order systems are bloated and they have all this stuff that we don't even use, all these bells and whistles we don't even use. I don't need that. I don't need this. But you make Command Center streamline it just for us. And when I want to add something to it, you're like, okay, let's figure out how we can do it, and you do it. So I definitely appreciate working with you guys.
Thank you. Well, with that, just a few closing comments, and the first one being is we love working with you guys. You guys are a fabulous team, so it is a pleasure. So thank you very much for taking the time. We for those that are interested, we actually also recently back in December did a webinar with another customer, Carleton University, who's using the system for all fire prevention across the campus. So that is available on YouTube if people are interested. Also, we are kicking off a project to build a kind of facilities task guide reference document. So we're kind of looking and collecting any to-do list, checklist, inspection list, whatever you guys have across operations. We're going to consolidate them all into one to provide a nice reference document so that people can kind of learn from others' experience. Oh, you check this, I didn't think of that kind of thing. So if you have any, please send them my way. I'll digitally transform them for you, put them in the content. We're doing a call for webinars, so if anybody has any specific topics they'd like to hear us talk about, then we welcome that input. Also, we are, a young company. We are looking for partnerships like we have with Cecil. So, we are looking for other early adopters who want to work with us and to really help define and make their lives easier. So if that is you, and we're offering free consultations, we'll come just like we've done with Cecil and work with you hand in hand to understand how best to digitally transform your operations and how we can ensure you're successful. So with that, I know we're very short on time. I'd like to ask Ira to jump on, introduce himself, and he can maybe throw out any last questions we have. If anybody can stay on, that's great. If you've got to drop, thank you so much for your time.
Well, hi, everyone. And thank you, Rebecca and Cecil, both for really an honestly great conversation. I mean, I've gotten to join a few of the ones that no one else gets to see, and it's always great. So this was an awesome format. We've had a couple questions come in. So I'll start off by saying I'm VP of Sales here at Zendelity, working closely with Rebecca and our clients, just really trying to find the best way that we can bring our solution to be as customizable and as useful to everyone that we work with. So with that, a couple questions. If anyone has any other questions as we're going through this, please feel free to keep dropping them in the chat. So one of the first ones is actually for you, Rebecca, and it has to do with how do you help clients like Cecil sort of refine their reporting or their dashboarding and kind of work with them to make sure that the metrics that they're looking for are the best they can report to. And that's sort of tied into a secondary question around Cecil having 3 fire marshals to report to, and which reports, you know, are the most important for him to send over. So I'll turn that over to Rebecca first, and then Cecil, if you want to jump in on that too, that'd be great.
Well, so it's an interesting question. So we work very closely with our customers. So as I said, Cecil and I have chatted. We chat regularly. So you know, the first when we embark on a project, the first thing is, okay, what part of your business are you having the most challenges in? You know, how can we build a work plan around that? So work hand in hand with that. So that's one thing. How do we make sure that those tasks are going to be done? So let's discuss and plan and build. And then the flip side of that is to say, okay, so now what data does it make sense for you to present? So, you know, we'll work with Cecil to say, okay, what information matters to you, both in a real-time format and then as a, you know, from a historical reporting perspective, and kind of working and growing together. As I said, we really see this as a partnership. We want to work closely with organizations to ensure your success. This isn't just a you know, sell something and get out. We want to build a partnership and really grow with you as an organization and really transform this space with you.
That's great. And Cecil, to sort of you know, get on the end of that one, with the 3 fire marshals that you have to deal with using Command Center, how are you making differences in the reports, or do the fire marshals actually have different things that they're asking of you?
Yeah, they do have different things that they ask us, but what we've tried to do is make a report that meets everyone's standards, which is hard. It's sometimes hard to do, because then when we have a new fire marshal, maybe take on a fire marshal retires, so a new one comes in, and he or she wants to set the standards their way, you know, in harmony with whatever regulations we need to follow, but they may want to add to it, to, you know, add their little twist to it. So what I like about it is the flexibility allows us to just simply adjust and change. And we say, okay, we'll start looking for this information, and we'll make sure we make this available to you. I'm still working with Rebecca to work out how we're going to, you know, if the PDF reports, if we have to email them to them or whatever, we're still working through that. But what I like about it is it's just so easy. It's so flexible. It's not too hard for me to say, you know what, Rebecca, this is the information I need. How can you help me get this? And like she said, I heard Rebecca say it's a partnership. It is. That's how I feel. I feel like she works, you know, Zendelity, you guys have been working for us, but like not really for us, but with us, like helping us to like grow together. And like you said, you're a newer company, but you're a company that, like, you know, I think if people want a company that they just want to buy the software or buy a program and they want hands off and just give it to us, and we know, well, I don't think this is the right company for you guys. I'm not trying to lose any business for you guys, but you guys they are more hands-on. They want to help. They want to be there. And it's like having extra support staff for you to help you with your job as facility manager. So I don't know if I answered the question. I talk a lot, so.
No, that's a great answer. Okay, so one more, Rebecca. Can Command Center be used for door hardware management?
For door hardware management, I would probably need to understand that a little bit more, but in essence, so the way the system works is the basis of work plans. So you can create any number of work plans based on any operating requirement, whether that be specific to a department, specific to, for example, health and safety requirement, insurance requirement, however you want to build or define that work plan. And then that work plan can have any number of work items. And a work item we associate it with an endpoint. So if you wanted to go and look at door hardware and inspect to make sure that it's functional, we can build a work plan around that. So in essence, if you need staff to physically go and do something, whether that's look at it, listen to it, smell, touch, fix, do anything physical, then there's absolutely no reason why we can't build a work plan around that based on your own use, your own terminology, your own requirements, and deliver that. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. So
Oh,
just because we're coming up
Cecil
on,
raised his hand.
oh,
Yeah, I raised my
Cecil.
hand. I was just no, I was just going to add to it. I mean, I'm up there jumping in, but uh, but no, I was going to say like as far as door management, like you said, Rebecca, anything you think can be that you need done, that you need checked, whatever, it can work. I can guarantee you. I could almost guarantee you. I don't have any money, but I can almost guarantee you that it'll work for you. I wouldn't bet my last dollar because I'm not doing it. But I'm sure it'll work for you. Just have that conversation with Rebecca and their team, and they'll help you out.
Awesome. So another one, and actually another one for Rebecca. So how far back can clients pull data from the tool, and does the data in the tool ever expire?
So yeah, the data is stored in Microsoft Azure Cloud. So depending on how long you want to keep the data for, so if you want to archive it for so long, then that is something that we can discuss as part of, if you want to keep your data for the next 10 years, then we can build that requirement. If you don't need to keep that data for that long, then we can adjust accordingly. So it really depends on yourself, your regulations that you need to adhere to within your operation in your business and that specific requirement.
Awesome. Thank you. So another one for Cecil. And again, we're coming up on time. So again, anyone who needs to drop, please feel free. I will send the recording out to everyone, questions included. So with prioritization being such a challenge, Cecil, for honestly all of us all the time, as far as Command Center goes, can you walk us through a little bit about how you've used it to solve for that problem with your prioritization of different work plans and tasks, and even from a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month sort of situation?
Yeah, so there are certain things that I particularly, based on my experience working in Philadelphia school systems, right? There's certain things that we did there that I wanted to improve on. So when we came to Norristown, myself and our former director, we had kind of worked at like what were some of the things that didn't work when we worked at our former school district, because we both worked there together, and then we wanted to try to correct those deficiencies when we came here. So one of the things was like we thought logs. We wanted to make sure we keep our staff honest, and it's not so much it is part of prioritizing, but we wanted to prioritize safety, right? We wanted to make sure that our staff understood that we want things safe. And so it helped us with that. It helped us. So we focus in on fire extinguishers. We focus in on emergency generators. All these systems that we need when an emergency happens, we need to rely on these systems. So I wanted to make sure that even though our head custodians in our school district here, they don't have the trade level of experience that our building engineers had in Philadelphia. So in order to kind of meet the gap, when I was in Philadelphia, we had a training center. So each of our staff members, they were trained. They had 2 years of training. The building engineers or the head custodians, they were trained 2 years of training on all the different aspects of running a building. Here is a smaller school district. We don't have a training facility. So how can I do it? I can ask my CFO, hey, can you hire me a training instructor? That's not going to work. So we've been able to prioritize safety by having these work plans put in place so that now they can look at the work plans, and after a routine of doing it, at a routine of checks, now they're able to prioritize safety. So we've been able to put safety first, and then just regular preventive maintenance, allowing them to do it even by themselves. And if they have a problem, they can always call us, but now it allows them, it gives them that confidence. That means a lot for a worker. When they feel like they're confident in what they're doing, they become a better and more competent worker for you. They enjoy what they're doing because they don't have the worries that you're going to come down on them because they messed up something. And so having a step-by-step thing, a step-by-step work plan also puts our priority back into not just safety, but training for our staff. And that's where we wanted to put our priorities at. I don't know if that answered your question, but our priorities are safety and my staff. That they are most important to me.
That's awesome. So probably the last question. So let's do a two-parter. So part one, similar to the door hardware question for Rebecca, can you use Command Center to track inventory items like fire extinguishers and expiration dates? So that's part one, and I'll come to Cecil's part after.
Absolutely. I'll actually use Carleton's as an example for that, because I think it's beautiful. Carleton University has 2,200 fire extinguishers across their campus that need to be inspected on obviously a monthly basis as well as an annual basis. So in their particular case, we have tagged every single fire extinguisher. And we've specifically chosen to tag the fire extinguishers. So what we can provide now is what I call cradle to grave reporting. So now for Carleton, they can pull up any one of their fire extinguishers and see exactly, one, what are the properties associated? So what year was it? What year? What's the serial number? What size of fire extinguisher it is? But then they'll also be able to see any inspections that were ever done against that fire extinguisher. And then what we've done is we've created one work plan for the monthly inspections they have 52 buildings across their campus. So they built one work plan per building that includes all the fire extinguishers for that work plan. For the monthlies, they just ask, is it properly mounted? Is the hose in? Is the pressure in the green? And is the pin in. Now they also use it for their annual inspections through their licensed third-party provider. So they're using the same tool. So now they've got all their data in a single location. But in that case, they've added in different details. For example, when was the last static testing? So now they have that within the two systems, and we've got that data, so we can do analysis and reporting based on expiry dates, when's the 6-year static testing, when's the 10-year testing, and the like, and all of that data is in one central repository for them.
Awesome. So the second part of that question comes down to Cecil's choice of starting off with fire extinguishers at Norristown. Did you make that decision specifically because that was your biggest challenge at the time? And whether it was or was not, is that still the right path for you to have started with Command Center? In your opinion, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Well, I must give you my opinion. So we start with fire extinguishers. I think that was the direction of my, I think we talked. I think it was my former director, Rebecca, and myself. We all talked about it, and that's what we wanted to start at because we had, like I said, some issues. My example was a true example. We had some issues of extinguishers missing or being in the red, and they're just sitting there and nobody knows that they're not working. And when we needed it, it wasn't there. I think I think the implementation was a little tedious initially, because I had to assess something I never really assessed before. We do have a company that comes out, and annually they come out and they inspect our fire extinguishers, and any deficiencies we have, they resolve. But outside of that one time every year, I wanted to ensure that we were up to par with that. It's just always the little things that people look at. So no, I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was good that we started there. I'm happy that we started with that, and now we just started expanding on that. And it was something easy that we can just grab at, assess, and then kind of expand on with different work plans. It gave me different ideas of how we could use this in different ways. So no, I think it happened the way it should have happened for us.
And if I'm just adding to that, like, so when we say it was tedious, what was tedious is trying to go and collect all the, you actually have to walk around and find the fire extinguishers and note things down so that we can track it. But, once done, once set up, then it's easier. It was actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you, if I can, is, a lot of people would be, it's going to make life tougher for your staff. would you say what has been your staff's feedback on actually using the mobile device for reporting on all of this stuff versus the old ways of paper? Is it causing them friction? Was it easier, faster?
No, I think initially everyone was apprehensive, right? Nobody likes change. Nobody likes change. So they were a little apprehensive in the beginning because they're like, well, where's this data going? And how can I see it? And are you sure? You know, whatever the questions that they might have had. But after using it during that week, after using it every day, you get used to it. And what takes a little bit of time of getting used to navigating through, because it's something that you've never done before. So the first week, yeah, you might not do it as fast as I would like them to do, but after that, they're speeding through. And even we've had a newer employee, they had a problem with tagging it. They thought they could just, I'm gonna just wave the phone over it. And it's gonna work. But I had to just show them how to use it, and then now they're good with it. So it's a device that we use. Like everybody is paying, not everyone, but a lot of people are paying for things with their phone now, and they tap and go, right? And that's all it is. Even with your credit card now or your debit card, you tap and go. And so with your phone, you're just doing the same thing. You're tapping. You might hit a couple of little buttons, and then you go. And then so it's been working out fine for me.
Nice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for answering the questions, both Cecil and Rebecca. So as I've said to everyone in the chat and extending again, if you have any other questions that come up, feel free to email us and we'll make sure to get the questions back to you ASAP.
Absolutely. And I'd like to again, Ira, thank you so much for moderating today's questions. Cecil, of course, thank you once again for taking the time to share your experience. That obviously something that we're very proud of, that you're willing to talk about this and the impact. So thank you. And for everybody, please reach out. Let's chat and let's discuss whether this is a fit for you and your operation, and how we can help give you back some time and simplify operations and help improve safety and protect your brand, etc.